What we're going to do is we're going to start off today by taking just a high-level look at what an order goes through in just about any shop I've been through, from order all the way down through assembly. So we start off with an order, right? We have an order that comes into our shop, whether it's one cabinet or 100 cabinets. We don't have an order, nothing else really matters. Then we go through the design process, whatever that design looks like. It doesn't have to be a digital design. It could be something you just sketch out on a piece of paper, how you build your cabinets, whatever it is. Doesn't really matter. We need a design. And then we have the part list. How do we build our cabinets? What part sizes do we have? What materials do we need, etc. We need that information. Then we have to optimize that part list. We have to optimize it for a saw. We have to optimize it for a router. We have to do something with that. Or we have to optimize it for how the parts flow through the shop. We need to do something with it. And then we have to get it to our machines, whether, again, it's a saw, a router, machining center of some sort, and we have to assemble it and get it out to the shop. Again, these are all steps an order needs to get through, and there's lots of ancillary steps we're not going to get through. Again, I said it's a high-level view. So how does Cut-Rite work with this, and how do the softwares that come before Cut-Rite, how does this all work together? And that's kind of the goal of today's seminar. So what improvements can we make in this process? What I'm going to focus on is not the machining end of it or the assembly end of it. If you have questions about this part of the process, reach out to me separately. I'll be glad to help you out or point you in the direction of somebody at Styles who's an expert in these areas. What we are going to focus on to begin with is the part listing and the optimizing. Then Cut-Rite. We have part list generation, cutting for your saw and nesting patterns, and quoting or product list generation. So here's what a part list looks like inside of Cut-Rite. If you have Cut-Rite already, this is a familiar screen. What you may have been doing all this time, though, with Cut-Rite is you may have been manually entering this part list. And this is what it looks like. The video should start automatically. There we go. Doing a manual entry part list, generally off of a piece of paper. You're filling in the material, the size. Version 11, what you got is a part library, and that's what's coming out of what you're seeing there when I type in the part name that holds all this information for you. So we're giving that away for free now. We're also giving you, but this is still an error-prone process because you have to call out the part name correctly. You have to get the material correct and the part size correct. We don't have that information in there correctly. You don't type it in correctly. We're going to give it to the shop correctly or incorrectly. But just handing the guys in the shop a part list and expect them to nest it in the way possible or create the pattern on the saw correctly. Those probably are not the best ways to go as well. So this is still much more efficient. So you can see how long this takes. I've created, what, 5 parts now? And I'm still nowhere near done with this first cabinet. If you're experiencing Cut-Rite or if you know exactly the part sizes you want to create, you will go faster than we're going to go to the results. We can create a saw pattern. We can create a router pattern very easily out of Cut-Rite. Again, this is the result of your efforts of either importing a part list or manually creating a part list. Importing is much more efficient, and I'm going to show you how that works in a little bit. Or manually creating, you're not spending the time at the saw, you're not spending your time at the router, manually creating these part lists or these patterns. Oops, sorry about that. This is the quoting module within Cut-Rite. Building your own product library that's parametrically driven. you can create custom products that you can choose the materials for the individual parts, hardware based on the cabinet depth, create your own custom holes that you want to use per cabinet, shelf quantities, and things of that nature that come up routinely when you're creating a product list or a product order for your customers. You can also create custom discounts, tax rates, profit and overhead percentages. And these aren't values that you show your customer, but you create your own custom quote form and you give the customer. And this is all stuff you can do within Rite when you have the product module or the quotes and orders module. It's easy to create, takes a little work to set up, but once it's done, you're no longer entering in parts lists. We're doing all that for you based off the product module. So what does that get you? Part list generation, if you're doing it manually, is much easier than handing it off to the shop floor. Your product diversification, you can do whatever you want inside of Rite. Less waste and more yield. Not only are you taking that responsibility of creating those saw patterns or nesting patterns on the shop floor, pulling that back into the office, you also have the ability to control the order of the parts being cut, making the shop floor better. So we're getting more yield in our time. And then, of course, quoting capabilities I just showed you, you're able to give your customer a very accurate quote based on not just materials, but hardware. And you have, again, your profit and overhead you can build right into your quotes. And then we have, I'm going to skip design for now. We're going to come back to that in just a minute. We have our ERP and order entry systems we can interface with. So what do we get out of that? What are we looking for? Consistent data transfer. Sending back to an ERP system or an order entry system the data that we need to track how well we're doing. And then part tracking. So this file is something we would import routinely, or a type of file we'd import routinely from an ERP system. And how this breaks down is initial information for the order, and then individual cabinets. And what we did is we blew up this last line so we could see this easily. Type of cabinet, the size, quantity of cabinets. And then in this case, we changed the door style to a glass door. This makes it very easy for the order entry system to enter in the order once, and we import the whole order at once. So now for the order entry system, once it's done, we never have to touch it again. All we have to do is import it. And this video shows that. Should start playing, there it goes. So what we're doing is we're taking that order of 73 cabinets, and we can change it if we need to. After the order entry and import and nesting, it takes less than a minute to do 73 cabinets. So we compare that to manual part list entry. We compare this to even doing the product list or the quotes. This is a much faster way to go. So what we've done is we've taken all that time and we've compressed it down to importing a product list. And now 73 cabinets in 1 minute, it's ready to go to your floor. And we're ready to roll. So how many more orders can we process and get to the shop floor and make more money? So your nested patterns, and here's your part list. And here's a part ID. So if you're feeding that kind of information back to your ERP system, we can tell that system where the part is using a barcode scanner. Not Rite specifically, but if you're scanning your parts as it goes through your shop, it will know where the part is, and you can look it up and see what's going on. And here's some more example reports that we create that we can, again, feed back to your ERP system. So what jobs have been processed? How much material has been used? Your part summaries, pattern summaries. And these are useful, especially on saws, because you can see what your average book heights are if you're using that. How much time you're spending at the software pattern. Do I need to increase the complexity of the patterns in order to get more yield, or do I need to decrease the complexity so I can get the patterns off the saw faster? So these are all variables you want to take into account as you're collecting your historical data. So the reports can be exported as formatted ASCII files, Access database files, and Excel files. So we have a lot of options for your ERP systems. So what we get out of this, again, it's consistent data transfer from the ERP system or order system. We'll reduce human error very quickly. We're compatible with any order entry system or ERP system that can get us that kind of file. And we can configure that in a lot of different ways. We're not locked into that one format. Pushing back data for your historical tracking, so you can keep improving what you're doing in the shop. And then part tracking, that's huge. The customer calls up, hey, where's my job? Let's find out. It's easy enough to find out. So finally, we have design software. And in this, we have machining data that we can import directly as well. So as we look, this is system integration. So all these programs, here we've got HomeAg IX, WoodCAD CAM, Closet Softwares, Microbellums, Cabinet Vision, SolidWorks, and KCDW. We can pull in a formatted CSV file and a machining file. So now we're at a part list level. We import these. We can create files for routers. We can create files for saws. And if we need to, we can create files for the machining centers. And you're done. So now, again, we're just at a part level. If we need to, and I do this a lot, we can just do an Excel file. We can do an XLS file, type of Excel, CSV file. Again, these are just part list files. We pull these, I pulled them out of 2020. I pulled them out of KCDW by itself. Trying to think of any other softwares. Right off the top, I don't have any that I can think of, but we're just doing a part list at that point. And that works great for your saws. SolidWorks produces the CSV and the DXF as well. Then the other files that we're going to look at here, Woodwalk, where do we go? Oh, DXF files. Woodwalk creates the MPR file. Now I'm just capturing, we're looking at a list of MPR or DXF files. So rather than having to start with the product or starting with a list of parts, I'm just grabbing machine files directly and creating nests or creating machining files. So you don't have to create some other list somewhere else. So you've got all these options to work with your data within CoverRite. So system integration, graphic design, software compatibility. We'll work with all of those out in the market. They'll produce the data. All the big ones, like I said, WoodCAD CAM, HomeAg IX, Cabinet Vision, KCD, all the closet softwares, we're pulling their data in. Again, that overall process continuity or data integrity, we're reducing that human error. Then the reduction of the order processing lead time. We're taking all those little steps out of the way and making room for more orders in your system. That's a lot of the goal in this. Or else we're just going to go back to writing cut lists by hand. We don't want to do that. I've seen shops do that. It kills me. So that order of cabinets, it was 1 or 100, pushing it all the way through to assembly. We've taken it from a 2-hour process down to just a few minutes. You know, just getting it out to the shop. It doesn't take that long. So at this point, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to throw them out.